Hey everybody, this is Perch, and this is an honest question, honest, and I really don't understand it. And I know some people are going to come in and be like, you're naive, you don't. But listen to it all the way through, okay? So every now and then, and when I say every now and then, it's more common than it should be. It feels like at least once a week, usually several days, somebody comes on either Facebook, Twitter, or the usual sources, and they post something to basically the gist of one of the best parts of this comic. One of the reasons why this comic is so good is because the racists and bigots hate it so much, and they lose their minds every time this comic comes out. And then there's gets much. Usually these things get a large portion of likes. And when I go and I look at the likes, because here's what gets me curious about this entire thing. There are multiple parts of it. Number one, and the biggest one, if the best part of a comic book is that people you don't like hate it, that's a crappy comic book. Just full stop. Doesn't matter who it is. By the way, it doesn't matter if there's a bunch of people hating Vita Ayala's New Mutants, which is where the majority of these are about. For whatever reason, the comics Twitter has really rallied around Vita, just like, and people are going to hate this comparison, the other group of comics Twitter is rallied around EVS. And in many cases, a lot of the dialogue is around defense of this person. Like, all those people who hate this person, they're crazy. But the thing is, when we take New Mutants, there's not a lot of hate out there. There's not a lot of anything. I mean, the biggest part about New Mutants is that somebody will post something about how good it is. The good tweets about it outweigh the negative tweets about it by a factor of, I mean, I'm just spitballing here, but like 20 to 1. And the good tweets about it get hundreds of likes, where the bad tweets about it typically don't get anywhere close to that level of engagement unless the comment that's bad about it is posting out some weird piece of art, like art that looks funky. I posted up a photo from the United States of Captain America, that limited series, from the last issue, where there's all these caps that like came in, not just the ones we'd met earlier in the series, but new caps. And one of them had a briefcase, and like the briefcase had turned into shields like Captain America Wall Street. I'm like, all right, go home, Captain America, you're drunk, because it was silly looking. I didn't think it was bad, by the way. I thought it was hilarious. I was curious what a comic of that guy would look like. Not an ongoing comic for what. God, don't replace Captain America with Wall Street Captain America, but it was funny. It was funny. And that got a ton of engagement. People were coming like, this is a proof Marvel is dying and everything else. It's like, well, there may be reasons why these companies are succeeding or failing. This is just comedy here, personally. But I get back to my original. Again, there's multiple things wrong with this game that gets played, and it really does feel like a game because I don't see the point of it. Again, if you think the best part of a comic is that people you don't like hate it, what the hell is what is with your life? Like, the comic should be the best part of the comic, and if the people who hate it, we're talking about who? A dozen? This is one of the problems that I have with just the other side is wrong argument, which in this particular instance, does tend to go more, people who like kind of mainstream comics making fun of people who don't like mainstream comics. They will say, on one hand, there's a couple dozen trolls out there, basically minimizing the number. There's a couple dozen, hateful, awful people. And these comics are actually wildly successful. That they're selling great and they're doing wonderful, and the sales numbers are huge, and it's just this small group of malcontents out there. Okay, if it is just a small group of malcontents, then you should ignore that small group, right? Like, what's the point in engaging with a tiny collection of people who are trolls? Like, what's the point of that? Who wins? If a title is wildly successful, doing great, sales are up, everybody loves it. And again, if you live completely within a Twitter bubble, When Vita will post something, for example, about an issue, hundreds of likes, thousands sometimes. Mission accomplished, right? Again, if you're staying inside that Twitter bubble, who cares what the 12, 24 people say? Why? I really, this would be, I said, I would love to interview anyone. I would interview Vita. Uh, but the number one question I would give them would be this one: why do you care about this group that you say is tiny? I mean, frankly, that doesn't even matter. Whether a group's tiny or huge, if you're getting paid, the book's out, sales are up, then who cares? Why do you care? I don't understand. I really don't understand the need to emotionally invest this energy into a hateful group. I do not get it. It is a absolute waste of time, and yet people keep wasting their time all the time. A post by Comic Book Herald. He's a no. It just there. It happens a lot that this guy tweets this stuff about the awful, terrible fans. But at the same time, you're saying that the comics are doing well. So again, who cares? Why? I find it really weird when people who want to be successful spend the majority of their time, and whether they acknowledge it or not, it is the majority of their time looking back over their shoulders and attacking the others. I don't get it. I mentioned the other end of the spectrum, Ethan's side. He has a comic. Shane Davis did this post about he's buying a house or something. Just basically, he's financially doing well. Okay, good for him. Everybody should financially do well. What was peculiar to me was, again, not him. Same thing I think is relatively true with Ethan in this case. But the fans, the people who are using that, who basically will use that to say, "See, screw you, haters." I mean, I get wanting to take a victory lap, but the best victory lap is wealth and success. Like that. That is the victory lap. It's just a absolute, pointless argument to me. Just pointless. Again, please explain to me why. And by the way, again, not to go over the point a third time, but if you're saying that the best part of a book is watching people you don't like hated, I think you're insulting the book. That would be like me saying the best part about buying this comic book was the bag and board that it came with. It was a really nice bag and board. That is an insult to that comic. That's saying that the comic isn't worth reading. If the best part of a comic book is a negative reaction to it, what? Like, that's the biggest insult to the book that I've seen all day. It's hard for people to accept, and I think that the people who are really irritated at the mainstream comic book industry often struggle to accept this fact, which is whether you like it or not, you're not in charge of Marvel. They're making their own decisions about what they publish or don't publish or anything else, and there's really nothing we can do about it. Nothing any of us can do about it. Your choices are buy the book, and well, I guess you got three choices. You can buy the book and hate it. You can buy the book and love it, or you could not buy the book. That's about it. That's the power that you have. If Marvel is committed to Vita, say in New Mutants, and they want to give Vita a 100 issue run, goes on for 10, 20 more years, there's not a doesn't matter how many YouTube videos get made, blogs, posts, anything else. That's just what Marvel gets to do, that because they're ponying up the money to make the book, and they're hiring the creative team, and it's their call. And I think when you accept that, life does get easier. It's not your decision. Your decision is spend your money or not spend your money. If the answer is not spend your money, and you accept the fact that you have no control over, whether this title gets published or not, life gets a little easier. The whole thing gets a little easier because you just you stop caring about the things you can't control. And this is a classic case of, on all fronts, by the way, stop caring about the things you can't control. It is so strange to me to see so much energy invested into fighting the other side while simultaneously saying that the other side is small and minimal and pointless, right? If the collection of racists and bigots who hate this title are insignificant because sales are good, I mean, and by the way, so it goes without saying, sales aren't great. And that is part of the answer here. People know sales aren't great. This title is not bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars. It's not. I did an analysis. I've got a sales analysis coming your way around the Ultimate comic line, and the Ultimate comic line is fascinating because it was stronger than I remember it being strong. It was stronger than I remember in terms of what the title did. It did the complete reverse curve thing, where it launched, it dropped, it built momentum, and it went back up, and it held it, and it's impressive. But there was a period for the first, I think, 3 years of the Ultimate comic line, even when you include the Ultimate Team Up book, which was by far the lowest selling, even when you include that into the mix, that the titles, the line, for the first 3 years of each book, averaged over 90,000. And if you take that Ultimate Team Up book out, it averages over 104,000. Averages. That's very impressive. That's not what the comic is doing today, nor are the trades. The trades are doing dismal. But in me saying that, sales aren't great, trades aren't great. That's not, again, that's not an opinion on the quality of the book. That's a factual statement on the sales. And that is what's driving all this, because if you can't argue facts, if you can't argue just hard numbers, then you start to revert to the squishy stuff. And that's where we're at here with wanting to kind of create this weird game. Again, what is the point of this game? And I'll give one last piece of advice to people who will not take it. I'll just admit overall. If there's one thing business, and I'm speaking like business with the big capital B, if there's one thing business hates, it's churn, it's conflict, it's a feeling of obstruction. It doesn't like it. Business doesn't like the feeling that things are hard. They like things that are easy. If you look at investments, if you look at funds, if you look at all these other things, so a lot of these wild conspiracy theories about funds and everything get poor. They don't vet out. It's that money likes simplicity. It does not like complexity. Complexity is pretty much the death of a lot of investments. As a general rule of thumb, making a convoluted argument, having this kind of churn, having this constant debate over whether there are good fans and bad fans, even if everyone at Marvel in upper management is solidly behind some of these books and solidly agrees that hateful trolls online are the best part of their comic books, even if they all believe that, the business is naturally going to gravitate to the places where that argument isn't happening, because that argument is a distraction. That argument is churn. Even if you are in the right or believe you're in the right, you'd rather not have the argument at all. Friction is adverse to business. And the fact that so many people, and it baffles me when, the creators are freelancers and they do what they want, and should they not do this? Yeah, they should not do it because it takes money out of their own pocket long term. A lot of these same creators who want to, every single day, and for several people here, it's every day. They wake up and go to war with the angry group of trolls and bigots that they say don't matter, but then they're focusing on it every single day. They will also complain about not getting paid enough, not having insurance. Why doesn't comics have a union? All this kind of financial. Why am I suffering? Well, one reason you're suffering is because you constantly lean into friction. Stop going there every time. When you create this conflict, and that is your brand, and hey, guess what? I see creators at various times talking about their brand. My brand is queer and brown. My brand is this. My brand is that. No, your brand is friction. That is your brand. Your brand is conflict. Your brand is waking up every day and bitching about this stuff. And by the way, doesn't mean you're not right. Maybe you are. Maybe every single person you're arguing with, every single one, is a bigot, a racist, a terrible person. Maybe that's all true. Why would you want your brand to be forever linked to that? Because when you wake up every day and you go to war with this stuff and you do this, that's what you're doing. You're making your brand all about this battle. That is your brand. And that brand doesn't sell. I don't know. I mean, if it's not entirely clear, Mags went to war with her critics year after year. I'll bet Mags wish she had a different brand now. Conflict is not a good brand for you. It is great for Twitter, and you are giving Twitter money. You are giving Facebook money. You are giving likes and engagement and plenty of stuff to them. You are giving away the value that you can make off that brand to those platforms, but you're getting none of it for yourself. So, something to consider. Again, I go back to, I don't get, if I'm Vita or Rod Rice and I saw a quote unquote friendly person to my book tell me, basically telling everyone the best part of the book was the critics who hate it, I would be pissed. I would be super pissed. But okay, everybody's out for different things, I guess. Whatever. Thanks for listening.